We listen and we don't judge. I don't know if you've been seeing these reels and videos all over social media, but I am loving them. Typically, it is people sharing confessions to a partner or someone at work where they share something and no one can make any statements of judgment. It is simply, I'm sharing this to share it. I need you to listen to it and we're done. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Thank you so much to my listeners who sent in lots of good stories. So we're going to be sharing those today. This is just a really fun episode to talk about what are we doing at work that maybe we just don't want judgment on, but it's real, it's happening, and it's out there. Let's get into it. Welcome back to episode 72 of the What If It Works podcast. I'm excited to just share some stories from some of the What If It Works community. Our first one today comes from one of my former students, an incredible young man who is on just an awesome growth journey. And I have a feeling this is going to happen his whole life. He is just somebody who loves to learn and grow and consistently use the information that he is getting. And he shared a story on the Impact to Influence Facebook post where I posted asking for your stories. And here's what he had to say. I'll give you mine. It's pretty straightforward and it just happened today. I love my staff as their manager. I believe they should have easy access to me so that I can serve them in the best way possible. Open door policy, email, phone call, text, smoke signals, all lines of communication are on the table. But sometimes it becomes very overwhelming when everyone has a problem or something to say. I can become counterproductive from being pulled in so many directions. So what do? I go find our walk behind floor scrubber and I start scrubbing the entire ambulance bay. I love that then he doesn't stop there. He doesn't say we listen and we don't judge, that when staff are overwhelming me, I go scrub the floors. He continues to give us positive tips on this. This accomplishes a few things for me. Number one, time away from my desk. Number two, the noise is loud enough from the scrubber that no one is able to walk up to me and start a conversation. So no new things flying at him. Number three, shows my staff that I'm not above doing the dirty work, which is a great tip for leaders. Number four, isolates me enough when I need to so that I can formulate my thoughts and develop a plan of action before I put more on my plate. And then I love this last part. He says, it's weird, but it works. And it's my favorite station chore to complete. I love this, Andy. We listen and we don't judge. But seriously, what an incredible use of time and energy when you're feeling overwhelmed. I could see a lot of people shutting down, shutting the door, not answering their phones, right? And shutting everybody out. And instead of doing that, he is still kind of shutting them out, but in a very productive way that allows him to get through his thoughts, allows him to think through some of the solutions that could be used, and then also get some work done at the same time, being a role model for his team. Thank you, Andy, for sharing and giving us your wisdom. And I'm just going to throw this out here. You need to be on the podcast. So expect an invite very soon. I think you guys would all absolutely love his story, his take on life, and his leadership and how he's really sharpened that over the years and is really trying to grow his mentees into leaders as well. So kudos. Thank you, Andy. We listen and we don't judge. That was a great one to kick us off. This next one I have seen in my own eyes, in my own way, and my own kind of workplace, even though this doesn't come from my place of work. But this was great. I had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, Ann, I got a really good one for your we listen and we don't judge. And so she wants to stay anonymous, which is awesome. I'm here for it. Here is her story. When I am at work, there is a perpetual angry customer. And the location that she works at has lots of windows, so you can see people approaching. And she said, as soon as I saw this customer walking up, I would bolt. I'm out, not today, Satan. Gone from the office before their angry thoughts could cross the threshold. This was mostly for my sanity, but also to keep the reputation of my business a good one. And then once again, I love how all of you are taking accountability, and instead of just leaving it there and allowing me to say, we listen and we don't judge. We all know that angry customer coming in and having just a mouthful of nasty things to say is not something you want to deal with. And so getting up and walking away and taking a time out, totally okay. We listen and we don't judge. But here is what I love that she added. She says, some days I am just stronger and more patient than other days. There are just some days I cannot listen to that type of negativity, get sworn at, or get yelled at. But man, those tough ones are tricky to maneuver. And so I love that she went so far to say, you know what? Sometimes I'm just not strong enough. And this is a way for me to save my company's face, for me to keep check of my own emotions, and also give this customer what they needed, which is probably simply a listening ear. I don't know how many of you have had that customer that comes in and they just want to be heard and they just want to be validated. And sometimes it takes a long time to get to that moment where you can do that for them, but that is why they are coming in. And so thank you to this listener for sending this my way, and keep going out there and being patient and doing your best, but also protecting your peace and protecting what comes out of your mouth. So kudos to you. We listen and we don't judge. Now, one of you didn't throw yourself under the bus. You decided to throw somebody else under the bus and was like, we listen and we don't judge. But Anne, I work with someone who is a Phi Ed teacher, and they have a day where they call it Closet Clean Out Day. And they literally open up the closet in the gymnasium for the kids to come all in, pull everything out, play with whatever they wanted, so that this individual could reorganize the closet. And you know what? We listen and we don't judge, especially when we have been a substitute for elementary Phi Ed. I don't know what qualifications need to be listed for that position in schools, but it is bananas. You are bringing small children into a large, echoey space. You are supposed to provide structure, yet physical play, yet learning, yet keep everybody safe. I mean, it is crazy in an elementary Phi Ed classroom. And I know that through the years, through different waves and different things, they've had Phi Ed teachers make sure that they have lesson plans and that they're meeting a target and they have an objective. And I hear it and I get it and I understand it. But I also won't judge an individual for utilizing their time in a creative way that also impacts the students in a positive way. So often when I was in the thick of being a teacher and things were really murky and mucky and I felt stuck, I was not doing my best as an educator. I wasn't showing up with my best. And so if there was a way to help me get clear and get through something quickly, I was going to utilize it, because what is the goal here is to get us back and get us focused and get us moving. And if the teacher is stuck, that's just not going to happen. When I think back of some of my most memorable days as a student and as a teacher, it did not involve the most creative lesson plan all the time. It was the extra stuff. It was the fun. I want you to think back to your school days. How many lessons do you remember? I don't even remember some of the names of my teachers, right? In the last 6 months, I've gotten reconnected to a lot of people from my middle school and high school, and even the teaching staff from my high school. And when I tell you, I don't even remember who taught me ninth grade science. Great guy, no clue what his name is. I remember the funny moments. I remember the extra moments. I remember the in between class times. Like, that's what you remember. And I am sure that this PE or Phi Ed or whatever you call it teacher created for those kids was that memory of, remember when we got free choice of any of the gym equipment? Like, that was awesome. You're letting them independently play and build connections with each other. Awesome. So as much as the person who sent me this might have been judging a little, we listen and we don't judge, especially when it comes to teachers. Personally, my own we listen and we don't judge is movie days as a social studies teacher. And now I know some of you listening are former elementary teachers. You are former principals of mine. I know that for a fact. And so you're probably laughing of like, oh, Anne, social studies, you and Deb, and those movie days. But let me tell you, it is extremely hard to get students to understand an era that they're not living in. So we can read all about history and we can talk about history and we can look at primary source documents, but seeing a visualization of that era in history through clothing, through technology, through speech is incredible. And so you can come at me all you want. You can judge me all you want for showing movies in social studies so that I could get caught up on grading, but it also helped me wrap up a unit or start a unit so that kids were in the mindset of learning about this time frame. So I am totally defending movie days in social studies. Right now, my daughter, this week in her English class, they're watching a movie. And she said, all we're doing this week is watching a movie. And I was like, hey, a couple things are awesome about that. And I totally backed up and supported her teachers. These final weeks right before Christmas break are always really tough too. And people who are like, they should be learning, go put yourself in a class with 25 middle schoolers and you go try to teach them something this week. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So more power to all of the teachers out there that are working this week during almost holiday break. We love you. We're thinking of you. Keep being awesome. All right. This next one comes from a coaching client, and she listened to the episode and she texted me and she said, hey, you can use my email one since you laughed so hard at that when it happened. So I have a client that I coach, and one of the things we were talking about was her stress level and how to keep her sanity and how to clearly communicate with other individuals in the office. And she was funny, and she was saying how she doesn't want to deal with drama. And so in order to avoid the drama, she would schedule send all of her emails in the afternoon so that they would arrive to the people she was emailing into their inboxes literally moments before their shift ended. And now the reason she did this is that she didn't want them to come marching down to where she was to sit and have a conversation in the afternoon, because she wanted to be really productive in the afternoon. And so what she would do instead is she would write an email at 1:30 and then she would schedule it to send at 4:52. And then she would write another email to another individual and she would schedule it to send at 4:51 or 4:59. And I just remember being like, how is this serving you? But here I am saying we listen and we don't judge. And so you heard me just ask, like, how is this serving you? And she was like, listen, I can deal with drama when I am fully refreshed the next morning. And they can come at me at 8:15 and they can come talk to me at 8:30 and they can come have conversations with me. But once I get into work mode, I don't want any more interruptions. And so as I work all afternoon, I schedule send everything. And so we listen and we don't judge. And this was such a funny one because I was like, I get it. I totally get it. But also, how much of your morning then is spent dealing with drama, which is maybe why starting in the afternoon, you start schedule sending your emails. So it's like this never ending cycle. So her and I really got curious about why she does that and how she could maybe clearly communicate within the email in a different way so that people were not constantly coming down to ask her questions or coming down frustrated or, all of the good things. And so I love this example because it does really remind me. Actually, this whole theme of we listen and we don't judge, what I love about this and maybe what drew me to these videos was this is what I preach is how can we, instead of judging an action out of somebody, instead of blaming them for something they're doing, how can we just watch and observe and ask questions and get curious so that we can understand, so that we can ask the right questions in the end to get a different result. I actually created an entire keynote. So I've been speaking to a certain business every year for their annual meeting. And this last year, they were like, what kind of a new keynote would you bring to us? And I was like, oh, I got a great one because I dabble and talk a little bit about curiosity in my original keynote, just simply Captain Your Culture. But I created kind of a part 3 that was Captain Your Culture, how clarity, curiosity, and collaboration drive action. And in that keynote, we really talk about how clear communication drives action, kind of going back to my client and her sending emails and them wanting to then, come down and discuss it. Like, let's get so clear in your email and provide them so much clarity that they confidently take action. But then also when you see some of these behaviors, you're like, why is Susan doing this? Why is Jessica doing this? Why does Rob always do this? Instead, you can get curious to understand so that you can move forward with the solution. Then that last piece of collaboration, how can we solve problems with other people so that they have buy-in, you have buy-in, and you can all move forward faster? If you are looking for a keynote speaker in 2025, right now I am still booking for the year. And if you want something that helps your audience and your team really take accountability for their own actions, get clear, get curious, and get collaborative so that they can really drive action and truly start to shift your culture in a positive way, you need to reach out to me. Go to annvote.com, and from there you can click contact Ann or connect with Ann to book for a speaking gig. But I would absolutely love to work with your team. Just a reminder, not only do I offer keynotes talking to an entire group or all of your employees, but I also work with just your management team as well. Maybe it's just your management team that you really want them thinking about how their interactions with their team could really drive action. So I recently was hired by a medical center in Minnesota to work with just their department heads. That is an example of a team I work with. But then I also do keynote speeches for workplace conferences. And I also do keynote speeches for like annual meetings and annual staff development. So if that is something you are interested in, reach out to me today. You can send me an email at impact@annvote.com or jump on over to my website, learn more, and start a conversation so that we can get your organization or your company booked. Another fun thing happening in 2025 for my business, if you are local, I have connected with a local tour company so that we can really enhance your employees' connection to the community, but also connection to one another and drive their professional development upward, right? And so if you are interested in any of that, shoot me an email and ask me about our team building and tours events happening here in New Ulm in 2025, because we would absolutely love to take your team, help develop them as a cohesive group, but also develop their skills and give them a really cool tour of downtown New Ulm so that they can learn more about their community and how it serves them and they can serve it. We would absolutely love for you to reach out about that if you are local. So much good stuff happening in 2025. I do have to let you know that since next week is Christmas Day on Wednesday, there will not be a new episode. The following week, we've got January 1st. There will be a very exciting and inspirational and motivational kickoff to your year. So join me back then on the What If It Works podcast, because What if it works? What if you set a vision for 2025 and it gets accomplished? What does that feel like in December of 2025? That's what we're going to be getting into. So I will see you back then. Thank you for being here, having a little laugh, having a little vulnerability, but also remembering that we are out here creating change for the best in ourselves and in others. Have a happy holidays. We'll see you in 2025.